Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is like this on a Tuesday when I ran my poetry of the Cafe Gallery. That was originally from David Rubin, that went on to Charlie Newman, that I took over before I handed over to Dave Getchik. But well, I took it away from where it was once at Cafe Aloha and then the cafe, and brought it to Gallery Cabaret. And so I would do readings starting at 7 o'clock on Tuesday nights, and because poets are eternally late, and we, sorry, you just are, and because I had to end the open mic by 9 o'clock because there was a music act to follow, because that's what Gallery Cabaret is all about. Because of that, I would have to be starting things up. So even when there was a low turnout at the beginning, I would start by reading material from recently published books from Scars Publications to start the show and start things going, and then as people filtered in, we started the open mic. In honor of that, it's been 5 years since I ran that open mic, but in honor of that, on Tuesday nights, I thought I would do Tuesday night book readings at 7 o'clock till 7:30, maybe, not even that far. So I thought I would read to you a few poems, and I was going to start from this cc&d issue collection book from July to December 2019. It's an expanded collection book of not only regular issues, but I believe retro issues as well as chapbooks. There's a ton of stuff in this book, so much that I'm still going through it for you guys. I hope you appreciate it. I believe this is from the Coiled Cobra section of the book, and I was going to share with you a few, appropriate for a title like Children, Churches, and Days for a magazine, a few Genesis poems. Poems are written about Genesis chapters in the Old Testament. So I don't know if I will see Charlie Newman, but I have my glasses in case he would be here. Hey, I see other people watching. Oh, it says I can invite people. So I don't know how this works, but it says I can invite. I don't know. No, I don't want to bring John on camera. I have no idea how these things work. But I'm going to at least wave to John because I don't know how else to do it. Hi, yes, I love these things. Welcome to technology. See the fun that I have with it. For you guys down at the crib, I do have my Chosen Few book, which is here on my shelf, which is material from past features from the open mic over the years. And in light of this all, and I wish we could all be together at these times, I thought I would read to you a few poems. As I said, these were Genesis poems. We'll see how they'll go. That's perfect for cc&d, right? So I will give up the glasses for my buddy Tom, because these are cream pages. Anywho, this first one is Genesis 6 through 9, an apocalypse doomsday prepper's take. This is a fun way to take it on the Bible, I suppose. Genesis 6:9. Everyone's been seeing the signs. People who believe in global warming are screaming that tornadoes, typhoons, hurricanes, and tsunamis are on the rise. And you know, they're probably right. I mean, whenever you think that whatever you think there is actually the cause, I mean, something's most definitely up. And if nature's not the culprit, then it's the evil of man. You think I'm wrong? Well, then hear me out. Floods may destroy the U.S. eastern coast, and sure, that sucks, but if humans weren't so stupid as to build so close to the shoreline, they'd be fine. And California wildfires destroy tons of trees and homes, but if the government would allow brush clearing, those fires wouldn't even spread so damn fast. And if it's not humans and weather, then it's humans taking religious sides and attacking each other for it. Muslim terrorists want to destroy Christianity because of our wealth. Christians want to bomb abortion clinics. And then throwing some anti-Semitism into that pot, and trust me, there's a lot of hatred there. Mix that in with the past burning of witches, translation, hatred of women because they were smart. Well, then all it just amounts to is just hatred and evil in all mankind. And I can remember the paranoia starting with nuclear bomb shelters, and don't forget the insane duck and cover mentality to appease the ignorant, right? I mean, Japan's Godzilla was even a metaphor for nuclear weapons, you know, to show ultimate destruction. no matter who even started a crime, and that man couldn't actually control that kind of destruction. Listen to this. School shootings are happening about once every 10 days now. Well, maybe not since coronavirus, but you know what I'm talking about, right? I mean, do you really need me to argue that this planet's just going down the tubes? I mean, I know that we now be living longer and longer, but the wickedness of man grips at my heart, and I fear that the end is near. I truly believe my only option for real grace in these times is to prepare myself for the end so I can survive it and we can all start this whole world anew. I mean, I can't repent for what others have done, for the violence, for the corruption. I can only fight try to be righteous and try to help the ones that I love to save us and even wildlife from total destruction. I'll build a shelter. I'll use gopher wood or cypress wood. I'll waterproof it. And think of it as my covering the shelter as an atonement for all that we may have done so that we can survive, so that we can start anew in this barren new world. So now, okay, I've stockpiled. I'm ready with MREs and meals ready to eat. I have water rations, basic first aid, even stuff saved to make fire or to preserve stuff too. We'll be happy to wait days, months, just to be free again. And don't call me crazy, but if you do, that's just fine too. It'll be me saving humanity and all the animals on Earth. And when I open my shelter doors, those birds will fly free, and every creeping thing can creep upon the earth again. I will build again, because I have been delivered. I have learned that cold and heat, summers and winters, day and night shall not cease. But what will cease in my heart is the killing of man. When I shed human blood, I shed my own. And if I love life, I love all life. This is my covenant with me and man and the earth. I will plant again, make my family and this world grow until I die. That was fun reading it with the accent. I hope you appreciated that. It's fun to be able to do that because it's been a while since I've been able to accurately put on voices for these things. This next one I've got for you is Genesis 11, the Tower of Babel. I got the Tower of Babel in here, but it's not spelled like the Bible. It's spelled B-A-B-B-L-E. We'll see how this goes. Hope you enjoy it. Genesis 11, the Tower of Babel. At the beginning, there was a great town of Babel, back when all from different lands spoke the same language and speech, and all revered this one sacred place. Eventually, the people in this town of Babel realized that the only place where different social types can genuinely get along with each other is in heaven. So they decided to build a tower, one so tall, taller than any skyscraper you could ever imagine, so that it could actually reach heaven, and the people could be like gods. So people from different lands came together to create brick and mortar for this tower to the sky. Now, they say they once all had the same language, but with enough time apart, people create new words for different things in different environments, and before you know it, no one could understand each other at all. Even the Valley girls and the girls from Sherwood, Ohio would think that even though their towns were close, they didn't seem to speak the same language. "What's your damage?" the Ohio girl would say. "Like, gag me with a spoon," the Valley girl would answer, and they would babble. "Did you have a brain tumor for breakfast?" "Like, well, take a chill pill. You're such a pillowcase. But you're like grody to the max." And they would continue to trade insults like this that no one could understand. When thinking about the Tower of Heaven in Babel, these girls could at least agree, still stating in their different dialects, this is like so totally tubular, or like, this is so very. But then again, as people came together from far and wide to build these bricks for this great building, men from the east would come explaining that this was "ono stone antrebo je votu," while women from the south and east said that the building to heaven was mega kalanganga spiritual sabuhai, and shavem navoyan viatsa was extolled by the women from the north and the mid-east, while men from the west and south exclaimed that the Tower of Babel was "que necesitamos en la vida." Wine-filled men from the north even sung that this tower and get-together was "Was wir das Leben brachen," but no one understood a single word from each other, even if they were all probably saying the exact same thing. Most people came from other lands, saying more things that no one could comprehend. And so it came to pass that no one knew what materials to use in this sacred town to build the best bricks for this imagined tower. So, no, they never built their tower to the sky. No stairway to heaven was ever made in any giant tower. But it's good to know that even though there are plenty of language barriers, humankind can share a station at the edge of our sky to learn not only about this earth from way up high, but also about the earth deep at the bottom of the seas and all over this land, making Earth a bit more like the one place we all imagine, the one place we will all be never so impractical as to try to build a tower to. We can all do things here to make Earth a little more like heaven. Oh, that's fun, just saying different languages to tell you things for the Tower of Babel. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. I've got a nice long one here. This will be my last Genesis one, and then I'll close with one more poem for you guys in this live reading for the Cafe Gallery 2020 Poetry Book Reading. This is Genesis 18 to 19. And it makes me think of my Chicago home, so it fits for Gallery Cabaret. Genesis 18 to 19. She was taken away from her city. She loved this city, but had no choice. She was told it was for the best, and she always does what she is told. After leaving, for years, she heard reports about the violence in her city. She would hear of so many killed, even during celebrations for the Lord. While away from the city she loved, she would even hear people ask her questions about how dangerous the city really was. All she could give was her word that the entire city was not this way. Only one small section of this town was to be feared, and the rest of the city was wonderful. But she was away from her city. She could no longer walk down the streets, the ones that made her feel safe and the ones she feared. She wanted to have that back. She wanted to be back in her city, her home. Her blood ran as hot as this town, and her pulse matched the rhythms that she felt in her home. Her blood pressure rose ever since she was taken away, and she couldn't get herself in sync. She made a point to come back after a year and a half. The people changed, but the pulse of the town remained the same. So she would go to her old stomping grounds, and although she knew no one by name, she was still treated like this was where she belonged. It broke her heart when she had to say that she had to go again, but she had to leave the only place attuned to her soul to live out her days away. Another year plus later she returned once more, and while there she even found a place where she could worship, and sitting there gave her an inner peace that she hadn't felt in her years away from the city that made her complete. It approached the time when they would have to take her away again. So she returned to her sacred place just to be able to try to find some of that peace again before she had to leave. And she couldn't commune. She was so tense and so wound up that she had to leave, that anything associated with any religion couldn't begin to help her. So, after finding failure everywhere in her last days in her city, while she stopped at a bridge to look beyond the river to take one last look at the city, just then a bearded old man, old but disturbingly ominous, walked up, turned to the city, and stood next to her on that bridge. She did not know this man, and it alarmed her when he started speaking to her. The cry of the city is great, and their sin is very grievous, he said, and she was shocked that the stranger spoke those words to her. The entire city is not like that, she said. It's not riddled with crime. I have seen the violence here, he replied, of young men shooting what they claim are enemies and killing mothers and children alike. He answered. But I tell you, that's not the entire town, she exclaimed. There are good people here everywhere. It's a wonderful place to be and to see. If it's only one small area, the old ominous man said, then why is it that we're looking downtown, down toward where the police force, the ones that are supposed to serve and protect, why do we look where they shoot unarmed people repeatedly? She suddenly remembered reading the story of the cop shooting an unarmed teen 16 times in the street, even after one shot made the boy drop to the ground. And it was only the energy from the extra 15 bullets that made this victim move. A fear gripped her, and maybe her city has gotten worse since she had left, but still she didn't care. She'd take her chances. This was her home. The old man saw her lost in thought, so he asked her, I believe you said that there are good people everywhere here. How many people can you name? This is when she finally turned toward him. He was staring right at her, and her eyes were saucers. She paused. She blinked. I don't live here anymore, she finally said. Find me 50, the old man said. Or maybe name 5 names. He didn't even give her the chance to respond before the old man said, Can you even name me one name? Just one, other than you, who no longer even lives here? I don't have to prove anything to you, was all that she could answer. And this is when the old ominous man stepped close to her. Young lady, I believe you, he said. And he then took her hand. She didn't know if she should run away or try to push him into the river, but her faculties evaded her, and all she could do was just stand there with her eyes wide open as he held her hand. I believe you, he repeated. I'm sure you've seen good here. The city has a colorful past. And suddenly she remembered the past mafia rule over the town, where crime ran the city and mafia employed her grandfather. And the buildings here are really well designed, the old man continued, which pleased her because she loved the architecture in this town. But even buildings crumble, the old man said, though she thought they'd last longer than the blues music that is another hallmark of this great city. Well, she said, buildings may crumble in time, but the spirit and the soul, with a proven and cherished set of beliefs, will endure. Suddenly, her gaze seemed stronger than his, so he said, "You are correct, and it is not very often that I meet someone with such a strong set of beliefs, and I want you to stay strong," the ominous old man said, with a sudden caring in his voice and in his face. So this is why I want to tell you. Please heed these words. The evil undercurrent flowing through the city. It is not all evil, she interjected. My young lady, he continued, you may be righteous, but the sinners infect this town. And I truly believe this city will not survive. And she, after hearing his opinions, suddenly started to tune him out. I'm sorry, milady, the old man interjected, which surprised her because a word like that is only used where the common man refers to a woman of high stature. All I was trying to say, young lady, is that I believe this city will not survive. All I can ask is that you vacate the city now, before it happens. She looked at him and thought about how she had to leave again. The old man started to smile, and his ominous tone started to diminish. You truly seem to be a righteous soul, so I trust that you and any of your loved ones, for I know that they are righteous too, will know to leave here. I know you say you love the city, but I know your leaving is the right thing to do. She thought briefly about how she was about to leave, to be taken away again, so maybe it would be best to just agree with the old ominous man and leave it at that. So she said, okay, she'll heed his advice. And he smiled at her as if he was forgiving her, though she knew not for what. Then he turned and walked away. It startled her, but she tried to think nothing of it as she began to leave, to take her, as everyone began to leave, to take her away once again from the city she always loved. She knew she called this the Windy City, but it wasn't for the winds whipping through but it's the long-winded politicians who ruled over the city. The ominous old man called so evil, so grievous, so utterly wicked. So she packed her things, and as she stepped outside and she was about to leave, she had to turn around and give her town one final look. And yes, they say this is the Windy City, but the final look at this wind, the winds picked up and they were eerily all too violent. She looked for something to hold on to, but found nothing. The trees were immediately uprooted, and sudden cyclones swept over the streets, hurtling high-rise bricks and glass through the sky. Concrete flew, and metal spun through the air. If she were to know that her demise would coincide with the death of her city versus anywhere else on the planet, she could think that there was no other place she'd rather be. Oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm going to give you one-page poem to finish off this reading from this book, Among the Debris. It's a really expanded, huge book that has been described as one of the best volumes from Scars Publications that people have ever read, which pleases me. I hope you guys like it too. This last poem is a poem that's called Keep Our Country and Save Ourselves. Something for y'all to think about before I go, maybe for another reading, or maybe save you for next week for the Cafe Gallery 2020 reading series. This poem is called Keep Our Country and Save Ourselves. I try to remember to thank veterans when I see them, and we're supposed to even have a day to remind us to be thankful for their service. They do things a vast majority of us couldn't even think of doing. They would never do. They would hate to do, and so they have to do these things to actually keep our country. So when Veterans Day rolls around, we think more people wearing military hats the same way we say Happy Holidays or Merry Christmas in December. We make a coin donation from our pockets and we get that plastic poppy and feel that we've accomplished something. What if you drive down the street after paying for breakfast at some diner where the regulars all know your order? Driving, you see signs on a homeless person saying that they're a veteran. Please, anything will help. And you start to panic because you don't know if this guy is a regular beggar at the corner. Is he actually a veteran or just trying to pull on someone's heartstrings? And wait a minute, it's Veterans Day. Maybe you should stop this one time, hand him your leftovers along with some money. It's cold out. And then you wonder, are you giving because it's Veterans Day? Do you panic because you don't know if they're a veteran or not? Is it because this day forces you to remember and to care? Maybe the point is that you should care for veterans every day of the year. Help them from their nightmares and help them get back to being in the real world again, whatever that may be. Because you suddenly wonder, everyone you know is on this trek, on this cycle, and it's sometimes a cycle that can drive you insane. So maybe it's time to save the veterans and ourselves. Something for the kids to think about. I think because it's 7:30 already, I'm going to have just one reading for you guys like I would do before open mics when there was a low turnout, but this is in honor of the early reading things for the Cafe Gallery open mic when people would not show up right on time when we do a reading. I hope you enjoyed your reading. Maybe next week you'll get one more reading from this book because there's so much stuff to cover in these books for you. If you want to know anything about Scars Publications, go to scars.tv, or if you want to know anything about this book, not only can you go there, but you can look it up on Amazon as well globally. I hope that everyone is remaining safe because you can't be at the Gallery Cabaret or other things for open mics in Chicago or right now currently in Austin or anywhere right now. So I hope everyone is remaining safe and I hope everyone's remaining poetically inclined, and I want you all to know that you're all loved. Thank you all so very much. Stay safe and I will see you soon. You are loved. Thank you. Bye.